Hello, my name's Henry. Today we're going to be walking through setting up the Sony FX6 for a wildlife rig. This is a very popular choice of camera from its incredible dynamic range, S&Q modes, pre-recording, autofocus, weight, built-in NDs, and of course its lens compatibility, being a Sony mount camera where the lens sits closest to the camera body, so you can adapt a wide range of lenses. So these here are the core components. We've got the body itself, which is actually tiny when it's not rigged up, for how powerful this camera is. We've got the top handle, side handle, and then a mic, which we're going to mount on top, and various other accessories, which we'll go through once we've got the basic rigging over with. You can buy a cage for the Sony FX6 and mount your own top handle and side handle, but the ones that come with the camera are really useful because there's a cable that runs from here into the camera where you can adjust like the ND filter, hit record, and of course the native Sony screen is on here as well. There have been shoots where I don't choose to use the side handle, but obviously it's really ergonomic, so if you are shooting wildlife or sports, I tend to find that really useful as well. When you're doing maybe a drama type thing and you've got the camera on sticks, you might not need that. This is super simple to mount. It's literally just these twisty things here, and if I flip the camera around, we're running the cable through here like so, and into the body of the camera. Again, although this is the default top handle, it's really easy to customize. For example, the way this is rigged now, I might choose to move the screen, so you can just unclip these, and let's say I'd prefer to have the screen mounted even closer to my eyes, I can just screw it on here. Next is the side handle. Again, super simple. I really like this side handle because it has like a release button, so you can actually change the angle at which it sits on the camera. So let's click that in there. Literally so simple. And then this little click button here, you can hold down and change the angle at which the grip sits. Again, this is super functional, so I'm going to just connect it to the camera here. And now this is starting to feel pretty comfortable. Pretty nice. We've got a zoom rocker on the side here, a record button, two customizable buttons, a joystick, and a dial that we can change NDs with. This is why this camera is perfect for documentary and wildlife settings, because you can change settings really easily on the hand grip and on the top handle. Then of course you've got all these crazy customizable buttons on the side, which are pretty easy to access too. Right, I'm going to connect the microphone next. So all we need for the microphone is an XLR cable. I'm no audio expert, but click this in here. And we're going to run this audio straight into the camera. And our XLR inputs just live up here on the top of the camera. Click that in there, and we're going to slide it to plus 48 volts to use phantom power. The media the Sony FX6 uses are these UHS 2 cards. These ones are the Sony tough ones, but I think there are definitely cheaper alternatives. And the camera features 2 SD card slots. Right, this is the basics. We're now going to attach a lens and a few more accessories so I can show you what this camera can really do. Next thing to do is attach a monitor, an essential for any camera rig, but in particular for this one. This is quite a small screen on the Sony. I like to reserve that for the menu, which I'm going to show you in a second. The Sony menu is ridiculously complicated for no reason. There's only a few pages that I really use, but this monitor is just going to sit right on top here so we can properly see our image. It's all kind of preference where you mount these things. I like to mount the screen on the top like this, so you bend the magic arm back over itself. Just gives you a bit of extra stability and your monitor's not kind of flying about or kind of susceptible to getting knocked off the rig. I've chosen to go for an SDI monitor for this rig, just because it's a more secure connection, but there's a load of ports on the back of the FX6. We've got HDMI, SDI, timecode, and various other ports which will come in handy. All right, we're getting there. We got our monitor, sound recording equipment, and both the top and side handles with our media loaded. I'm now going to go and grab a lens. Cool, this is the Canon 70-200 lens. A really popular choice for wildlife shooting, because this is not a native Sony lens. I'm just going to grab a Metabones adapter so we can attach it to the front of the camera. I first noticed when I got the camera out that there's a lot of dust on the sensor, so I'm going to have the camera switched off, angle it up slightly, and just give it a nice firm blow with this. Obviously I might not be able to get everything. I don't have a sensor swab with me, but I'm just going to do my best to get the majority of the dust out of there and close this back up. This lens is now ready to be put onto the camera, and bear in mind this is an incredibly heavy lens. Either you mount it with a lens support, or this camera is way too heavy to do this, but it does have a mounting point on the lens itself if you want a tiny little body hanging off the back, but for this you need lens support. With this lens, this does then become an incredibly heavy rig, but we're going to throw this on here. There we go, that's clicked on there. chuck these away. This is the lens that comes with UE's kit for the FX6. I'd still say it's a good documentary lens. It's the 24-105. It has great stabilization, but it is an f4 lens, so you're taking a bit of a compromise there. You can't really shoot low light stuff. But what I would say is the autofocus on Sony lenses is way better than what you get bringing in a third-party lens. Couple extra things. This is a rain slicker, just a cover to go over the camera if you ever do need to be shooting out in the rain. Probably not with this lens because it's going to stick all the way out the front of the rain cover, but this sits on top of the camera, and this is definitely an essential when you're shooting on location. This here is a shoulder rig. I'm actually going to mount the FX6 to this because I feel like this is what I'm most likely to be using when I'm shooting something on this rig. What's good about the FX6 is it has both a 3/8 and 1/4 inch mounting point on the bottom, so it's going to be really secure when we put it on here. Again, this setup's going to be quite front heavy. This shoulder rig does come with weights on the back. This wouldn't be my first choice of shoulder rig, but it does the job, and this counterweight thing is really handy. I found that this has served me much better than a random 2p coin from my back pocket. Oh my gosh, I did it. That took me like 5 minutes. Really tricky to do by yourself to get the angle on these screws, but that's now mounted on there with both of those attachment points. Again, there are a lot heavier cameras, but this actually feels really, really comfortable. The screens are in completely the wrong place. I think I'm actually going to put the screen back to where it was originally. It's unfortunate I've got such a short SDI cable, because on a shoulder rig, this monitor is way too close to my face to be able to actually see it, so I'm going to use this one for the time being. The very first thing I always like to do is just make sure that my monitor is expecting a Sony input, so Sony S-Log3, S-Gamut3.Cine, and we're going to output, for the sake of this, Rec 709. There are loads of ways to get to the menu on this camera, but I'm just going to hold the number 8 button, and I'm going to give you a very quick look at what the FX6 menu looks like. If I was more professional, I'd have a live feed recording this screen, but hopefully you can see here the sheer amount of menus on the Sony. The main things for me is my recording format, so I'm going to set this to 4K here. So we're in 4K, full frame, XAVCI, which is the highest codec that you can shoot on the Sony FX6. There are loads of really good recording qualities where you can save on storage. And the important one here is setting the camera's shooting mode so you can record at the low base ISO, which means you have a really, really clean image, and you get the most dynamic range out of the camera, which is probably something like 13 stops. The first thing I've noticed is I'm just going to adjust these handles. There we go. Again, you got this hand grip on the side if you want to use this, and I can easily access the record button. Got a screen up here. I'd like to have a big screen mounted here. If I had a longer cable, I would have done that. But again, this is a really, really comfortable rig. What's great about this rig is you're able to control everything that you need from the side of the camera. So your ISO, white balance, shutter, ND filters, it's all really accessible right here, as well as a load of customizable buttons. So shooting on this rig is so easy. But yeah, this is an all-around great camera, a really good option for shooting wildlife and sports, and I hope that was useful to someone out there just doing a walkthrough of setting up the camera from scratch, getting a lens on there, shoulder mount, a nice simple rig, really ergonomic, and now I feel like I can go out and shoot a safari or something, or a football match. But yeah, that's the rig there. Let's get this packed away.